Hey guys, it's Brindley Tucker, and I am so excited. Technology is our friend this week. So sorry about last week, and it was such a great topic on self-esteem and self-worth. Yet, even though the video is choppy, I have great news. It has been a dream of mine to start a blog and a vlog. And so I started these videos as kind of the vlog, the video blog portion. And then what I'm doing is on my personal website, which I'm going to be launching this week, each video is going to be accompanied by a blog. So if you were frustrated last week because the video was choppy, I will be releasing it this week. You'll get to read all the notes in the blog, which will be awesome because it's a really great topic. And I really think that more of us need to dive into it because I think self-esteem and self-worth are a big deal. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, today we are going to talk about getting uncomfortable. And there is nothing more uncomfortable than having a conversation about being uncomfortable. So today we're going to have the conversation about being uncomfortable. I had something pretty amazing happen this weekend that I thought I would share with you. So a lot of you know that I spent this summer in Washington State, and it was a really big decision, and it was the most amazing summer of growth that I've had in a really long time, and it forced me to make some major changes in my life. And so I bought a house last May in St. Petersburg, Florida. Literally came home, moved in. It was a mail away closing because I was in Washington. Had somebody move the house. I came home for a weekend, got some things in order, and then went right back up to Washington. And so this is the first time since May that I've been home probably longer than 3 to 5 days. And so God has really been laying on my heart that I need to meet some people, because where I grew up and where I've spent the last 8 years is about 30 to 45 minutes north of where my new home is. And so how do you get involved? Well, number one, you either go to social clubs and happy hours. Well, I don't drink, so I don't do that. So I decided to go to church. And there were two things that I was really praying about and hoping that God would open up for me. And that was a community in my recovery program that a lot of you, if you listen to the first episode, know that I am in recovery, and my church home and my church family. And so I'm in a brand new city. It's very diverse. I have no idea what I'm going to find. And so I just Googled churches near me. And 0.9 miles away, there was a Baptist church called Fifth Avenue Baptist Church. And I went online and I listened to a few of the sermons from the pastor. And I'm looking through the website, and this thing pops up and it says, Sunday morning meeting, come meet Pastor Hale and learn all about membership. And it says RSVP here. Well, I'm sitting there going, okay, Brindley, you don't even know like if this is an invite only thing. You don't even know if you're supposed to be there. Are you really going to walk into a room full of people? What if it's just you? What if no one shows up? What if no one wants to be a member and you just walk in and it's only you? And all these things are going through my head. And something just said, if you want to get comfortable and you want to grow, you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. And so I hit RSVP. So now I was committed, right? So like I put something out there to this unknown universe of whoever it was on the other side that I was going to be showing up for this meeting. So someone was expecting me to be there. And so that night before I went to bed, I roll over to set my alarm, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to go. Like, this is ridiculous, Brindley. You don't need to do this. Like, again, all of that drunk monkey and those thoughts going through my mind, like, you don't need to be there. And so I said, no, I'm going to go. And so I wake up the next morning and the alarm goes off. And again, same thoughts, right? And remember, we can't control our first thought, but we can control our second thought. And so I had to keep having my second thought say, no, you're going to go do this. So I put on my Sunday best, pull up my bootstraps, I get in my car, and I go to the church, and I walk up to the front door, and they're like, no, you have to go over to this building over here. And I walk in, and it's a small conference room. The head pastor's there, and there's about, 7 or 8 people at this round table. None of them look like me. None of them are my age. And yet they were so welcoming. And so I sat down, and Pastor Hale, who's from Mississippi, starts telling me about the church, starts telling us about the church, what it's like to become a member, what their doctrines are, what they believe in, all the things. Like, I could not have walked into a better place to learn about what this church was, where most people will just go to their first worship service and then it takes them weeks or months to find out what the church is about. This was all day one. And so I'm sitting there and I'm sitting next to a woman and she's being baptized that day. And I hear her say that she lived in a home near the church, and something just had me turn to her and say, "Hey, are you in recovery?" And she said, "Yeah, actually I am." And then another woman overheard me ask her, and she said, "Hey, did I hear you just ask her if she was in recovery?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I am too." And all three of us are pretty wise into recovery. We have quite a few years under our belts. And I just started to cry, because not only had I walked into this room of being uncomfortable and walking into this church for the first time, I had also walked into a room of a new recovery family in the same room. And it was like God took both of my requests and he fulfilled them in one 1-hour meeting Sunday morning. And I tell you this story to show you that the magic happens when we're willing to get uncomfortable. The big things happen and the big mountains are moved when we're willing to get uncomfortable. Now, what was amazing was I ended up staying and going to worship service. I'm going on a women's retreat at the end of April with the pastor's wife and some of the women. And this is a church that has been through a lot of transition in the last 5 years. And Pastor Hal and his wife moved from Mississippi, have really taken this church and turned it around. And they've been praying for new membership and new leadership to come in to help them lead and disciple to the congregation. And when I told them I was a coach and this is what I'm, leadership is what I studied and all of this, it was just like God knew exactly what he was doing. Yet we can't have these experiences unless we're willing to get uncomfortable. So when I did the research for this week's topic, something kept coming up. And when we talked about what it was like to be uncomfortable and what it truly meant to be comfortable versus uncomfortable, the word routine kept coming up. Routine. You know, we have routines. We get up at the same time in the morning. We have the same routine in the morning. We get up, we have our coffee, we pray and meditate, we get the kids dressed, we get the breakfast made, we go to school. It's the same routine, right? And routines are great because they're constant and they're consistent. But what happens is that we become desensitized the more that we have routine. The more that we have routine, we get comfortable. We're just on autopilot. We're just driving towards the same thing. And so in order to get uncomfortable, we have to break routine. We have to be willing to do something different than we've done, because if we don't do something different, we'll continue to get the same results. And so part of getting uncomfortable is breaking the cycle. Have you ever had a trip to the office where you barely remember how you got there? Right? We've all done that. We get in the car, we drive somewhere, and we look back and we go, I've just been in the car for 30 minutes and I can't tell you which way I took, what streets I drove on, or what color car was in front of me, or how many lights I hit, because we're on autopilot. We're in routine. We've become so comfortable with that drive that we just keep doing the same thing over and over. So what happens when we're on routine and we're in routine is that we start tuning out life. We start not listening to the things and acknowledging and bringing awareness to the things that need to change inside of us. And then we start justifying it. And we start justifying our behavior because we're in a place of being comfortable, and it's more comfortable to stay than it is to leave. And I recently went through this. I had a huge decision that I had to make in my life, and I had known for quite some time that I needed to make it, that it wasn't, that I was no longer the person that I wanted to be inside of a certain environment in a certain world. Now, does that make that world bad? No, not at all. It doesn't make the environment bad. It doesn't make the world bad. It doesn't make anyone right or wrong. It just wasn't the right place for me. Yet it was more comfortable to stay, because leaving would mean that people would know I left. People would wonder why I left. They would judge why I left. There would be stories and people would talk, and I would lose things, and I would have to make changes in my life financially and all of these things. So it was more comfortable to stay. yet I wasn't growing. I was actually going backwards. I was actually becoming someone that I didn't want to be, that I swore 8 years ago that I would never be again. And so I had to be willing to get uncomfortable. And it wasn't fun. It's never fun. It's never fun to get uncomfortable, but yet the growth that happens and the reward that comes on the other side is worth every single second of the uncomfortability that we go through. And so if there's something in your life today that you're uncomfortable with, that you're sitting in a place that is so comfortable that you are compromising your core values, you're being someone that you swore that you wouldn't be, or it could be as simple as that you're not becoming the person that you want to be. I have had a dream of being able to do these videos and have the time. It wasn't that I wasn't allowed or anyone was preventing me. I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to research topics and make it something that was of value to people, and then put together a website and write a blog. And until I was willing to get uncomfortable, I didn't get to start fulfilling my dreams and the things that truly give me joy. And it has changed the way that I look at the world. It has changed the way that I behave. It's changing the way that my team is and my business is running, because I'm growing again. So a couple of things that I put together on the steps of getting into uncomfortability, learning to lean in to being uncomfortable, because we move towards pleasure much faster than we move towards pain. And being uncomfortable can be painful. It can be tough. It's much easier to stay where it's easy and it's comfortable and I get pleasure. So the first thing is your mindset. What are you doing to improve it? Are you doing affirmations? Are you meditating? If you go to my my Facebook page, Oprah and Deepak Chopra just started a 21-day meditation challenge that I'm committed to doing every day with you. And I'm going to be putting my notes and what I think. And I encourage you to leave your comments on what you think. Yet, are you doing things to improve your mindset? Garbage in, garbage out, right? Goodness in, goodness out. What are you doing to feed your soul and feed your mind? Every time I go through an uncomfortable stage of growth, I constantly am in my head having to talk myself out of bad thinking. I always say you can't think your way out of bad action, but you can act your way out of bad thinking. Or I'm sorry, other way around. You can't act your way into bad, you know what I'm trying to say. You need to think your way into good action. You can't act your way into good thinking. So we need to change it up here so that our behavior changes. So every time that a negative thought comes up, remember, you can't control your first thought. You can control your second thought. So we want to train our second thought to tell our first thought, we don't think like this anymore. We don't think like that anymore. I choose to think positively. I choose to ignore the negative. So switch the mindset. Number 2, ask yourself, why is it uncomfortable? What is making it uncomfortable for you? Is it a trigger? Is it something in the past that is causing you to be uncomfortable? For me, 99% of the time, I can tell you that it's my ego that is making it uncomfortable, because I'm afraid of losing something that I have or not getting what I want, or I'm worried about what people are going to think. 99.9% of the time when I'm afraid to get uncomfortable, it is directly tied to my ego. And I know that. So I know that I need to check my ego. I know that I need to have people around me that will call me out and check my ego for me and say, Brindley, are you really focused on the right things here? Why is it making you uncomfortable? And is that a valid reason? And if you know it's making you uncomfortable, go find the root of it. And if you pull the root out, you'll no longer, that uncomfortability will be easier to lean into. Tell a friend. Tell me. You can direct message me. Your secrets are safe with me, I promise. But tell someone how you're feeling. Hey, I just need someone to hear it out of my mouth and hear me say it out loud. This is something that I want to do. I have said out loud, I want to lose 40 pounds this year. I'm going to leave 40 pounds in the year 2020 because I turned 40 in April. 20 plus 20 is 40, and it is hard. And the way that I'm choosing to do it is through intermittent fasting and exercise. And so we have a community online, Jeff Woods, Jay Papasan, the One Thing community. And I made a commitment to that community that I would post there every day that I have done my intermittent fasting. That alone, that one simple thing of making that declaration and giving and putting it out there has made me actually post there every single night. I'm sure they're getting annoyed with my post, and who cares, because it's working. And I have done, it'll be 31 straight days of intermittent fasting starting tomorrow. So I'm so excited about that. So tell a friend, say it out loud, set a date for yourself. Give yourself grace. It doesn't have to happen overnight. It doesn't have to happen in 2 days. Set a date for yourself. So when you set a date, it should be a date that kind of makes you go, it makes you squirm a little bit, but then you say, nope, it's totally doable and I'm committed to it. I could say that I want to lose 40 pounds by June, and I could probably do it. Yet why? Why set a goal for June when I know I can be committed by December? Because guess what will probably happen? Because I'm truly committed to December, I'll probably lose it by June. Yet if I said June, I'm not committed by June. To me, in my heart and in my mind, June doesn't feel right. Now, some people might say, Brindley, that's not right. You're not thinking big enough. You're not pushing yourself hard enough. Well, guess what? That's your opinion. And this is my goal. And my goal and my commitment, as long as I'm committed to it, is all that matters. Don't let someone else determine your commitment, because if you're not committed to it, it's not going to matter anyway. You're not going to get it done. You're not going to hit the goal. So it has to be something that you are 110% committed to. So once you've told a friend, you've set a date, then create the plan. How are you going to get there? So for me, I set my goal of the end of December to lose 40 pounds. And I have put a plan in place to do that. And I didn't come out of the gate January 1st and say, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. I'm going to go on a ketogenic diet. And I'm going to work out 5 days a week. Okay, first of all, those of you that know me, I've always said that if you see me running, you should probably run, because I'm running to something or away from it. I am not an athletic person. There is nothing that excites me about working out. I have no desire to work out. I would rather stick a fork in my eye than go to the gym. It's something that I know about myself. I admit it. I would rather starve myself and not eat than to have to go work out. Now, do I know I have to work out to be healthy? Yes. But am I going to try to convince myself that I can go from 0 to 5 days a week within 3 months? No. I'm going to start with what I know that I'm good at, and that's going to be the food. And I'm going to start with the food. I'm going to set the goal for the food. And then when I start to see results, then I can slowly start putting the exercise into it, because I'll have more energy. I'll feel better about myself, which will make me want to keep doing more. So I'm setting myself up for success. So I hope that these steps, how are you improving your mindset around it? Mindset is 99.9% of it. How are you asking yourself, why am I uncomfortable? What is it about this that makes me uncomfortable? And then getting to the root of that and figuring it out. Tell a friend what's making you uncomfortable and tell them what you want to do. Ask for their support. Have them be your accountability partner when you set that date. So set a date as to when you're going to accomplish that goal, or when you're just going to start the process of getting uncomfortable, when you're going to start leaning into it. And then create the plan. Create the plan on how you're going to get there. So I know that I went a little bit longer than I like to this week, but there's just so much power in getting uncomfortable. And I just encourage all of you, it's February. We've got a whole lot of year left. Figure out what scares you the most, that you know is going to give you the most growth that you want, and step out and do it. Just go do it. Correct your mindset. Ask yourself why it's uncomfortable. Tell a friend, set a date, and make a plan. Again, keep an eye out. I'll be launching the website this week so that you guys can read the first 3 blogs. All I ask of any of you is, if you get value from these, to please share them. The more that we can get these types of messages out there and into people's lives, the more lives we can change together. So thank you so much, and have a great week, guys. Bye.